It's just another update on the garden. Well, it's not really gardening, but it's, things to do with the garden and the area that I'm working on down there. Now you can see the grass is really fairly dry around here, and last time I let it get pretty tall before I cut it, and today I've got the cyclone rake on. I'm going back to go back and actually collect this all this clippings for mulch in the big garden there. So I'm just taking a buzz up. This is up, the length of my property here. Well, not quite the length, but you can see I've got a pretty good deal to mow, and luckily I've got this cyclone rake to pick up all the clippings. And off to the left there, you can see once you go over it with that, everything is just perfect. And I must say this thing has been problem free since I got I think the blower actually downgraded to an 8-inch one, and it just pulls along behind the little Kubota tractor, and you really don't even know it's there. And when you've got the grass clippings that are really dry like this, you can just blow that bag really full. You can pack it almost like a bale of hay in there. I'm just opening it up here to let you see what it looks like. A couple little clips and some Velcro, and you'd think the Velcro would fill with grass, it wouldn't work anymore, but actually after all these years, still no problem. The grass just kind of it's in there, but the Velcro still works. So I'm just gonna open this up here and dumping it down by the garden there. This is the first bag that I got, and you can see it's just packed in there tight. Once you see the sides of the bag bulging out, it's full pretty much, and just gotta dump that out and start spreading it around the garden here. And this thing really has been a great help for keeping the yard nice looking, and also getting some mulch in the garden. And there's the beginning of the first couple bags. That was like 2 bags there, and they got a little bit more, and eventually this whole top area will be mulched with it. Now I did go over and get another 3 tons of pea gravel here to put more in the area, this raised bed area, and you can see I've got all the pretty much that area all done now. Everything's got gravel in it. I tore out all the old mulch, and I put down 6 mil poly under it, which was the biggest problem. And then I put down gravel because it's hard to find mulch anymore. They want like $30 to $40 a yard for mulch, when I could buy this gravel here for under $10 a ton. So this will be a lifetime thing, and it doesn't look quite as good as the mulch did, but it'll last. And now I'm getting started on cleaning up in front of that little shed that I've got there. This is kind of the last part of the cleanup that I'll be doing this year. And you can see we're just, this little John Deere, this little compact tractor, but it sure is handy when it comes to just moving dirt around and leveling things and stuff like that. It does save a lot of time, and also really makes your back last longer. I'm just starting to move a couple yards of dirt out of the area here. And this area was always kind of wet and a little bit higher than the rest, but it's kind of like a clay soil that holds the moisture in the springtime, so it takes months to dry up. So what I'm doing is I'm just digging some of this out, and gonna go back, put French drains in next to drain this whole area, and then I'm also gonna put some gravel down when I get done. So that turns, moving a couple yards of dirt out there into a couple minute job. And worst part is going back with the shovel to clean up the edges where you don't want to, like damage a fence and stuff. So that takes longer than the rest of it. But you can see I've pretty much got this whole area here kind of leveled out, and going back and finishing up with some gravel in front of that building there. I ripped out all that pressure treated wood that was in there. And this is the rest of that load of pea gravel. I've got all 6 mil poly under everything, and pretty much everything's all done now. If you look in there, everything's got new plastic and gravel, and a little more of a mess to clean up here. And it's just been so dry the last couple of weeks. We've since I put that rain gauge up, I'll show you in a second, we've had hardly any water in it. So every day I've been out there. Every night I water it. I use watering cans like I've said before, and I just have a hose that I fill them with, and I like to take my time and just water everything good by hand. And just, you can look over the plants, so you can pick any bugs off that you find, or you can pick any weeds out that you see growing. So I don't mind spending the time every night. Just it's usually starting to cool down and stuff by now. And one thing I did notice is that when you first put this gravel down, it's a little bit tougher to walk on than the mulch is, because it kind of moves around a little bit under your feet, so it'll take some time to level out. And then I did take a trip over to Lowe's to get my drainage pipe for the French drain, and at the same time I went looking for pressure treated 2x4s, and that was all they had. They had I got 3 2x4s, and then they didn't have any 2x6s. I needed 3 2x6s. I found 1 2x8, and I could not believe how cleaned out they were of wood. Then I ran over and I got 4 tons of a 1-inch stone, they call it. I'll show you in a second. That was really a little more than my trailer can handle, but the truck, handled it no problem. And it's time to move the pipe down and, get going on the French drain. And there you can see a 1/4 inch of rain, a little bit less than a 1/4 inch of rain, and that's all we've gotten in like about 3 weeks. So you can see why I've been watering. And this is what they called a number 1 stone, which is a 1/2 inch to 1 inch gravel. So I'm getting ready to dig the drain now, and we've constantly had nothing but wind the last several weeks. It's like we have these fronts changing between, a cold front to a warm front to a cold front, and the poor plants have really taken a beating with wind. And even the little bees have been really working hard. I got the trencher out, and if you remember a while back, I modified the trencher to take the DR buckets, and this was the 8-inch DR bucket that I had bought. I'm finally going to get a chance to try out. I bought this for doing all the drains because I have a lot of drains to put in now. And it fit right on there, seeing how I modified it. And I felt it's just the perfect size. The other bucket I have is about 14 or 15 inches wide. And it's just too big. It takes too much gravel and stuff, and it's not what I wanted. So got the little trencher out, and you can see I've got a hook to the John Deere tractor to hold it back. I don't have the outriggers on it because I want to dig close to the fence there, and if you put them on, you really have to come out a couple more feet. So it's kind of a clay soil. But this goes through it no problem. It's starting to get hard. It's really a bear to dig with a pick and shovel, so this really does make the job a lot easier. And I just have to, the biggest problem with it is you can't use 2 of the control sticks at the same time. It just doesn't have enough hydraulic flow on it, so you have to kind of wiggle one and wiggle the other one, and so it does take quite a bit longer. But there you can see I just have it hooked to the tractor, so I'm just moving it a little bit at a time instead of walking it with the bucket. So this is it's a fun job, actually. It's kind of like playing with one of those little kids' toys at the park, but a little bit bigger. So I don't mind doing this. And by the time I got done, I dug about, I think it was about 65 feet of trench that was 18 inches deep and about 10 inches wide, and it took me just about 45 minutes by the time I got done. And you can see this is the actual speed that this thing moves at now. So it's not the fastest thing in the world. If it had a bigger pump on it, and bigger valves, you could make it work faster, but it's basically been a great little machine for me and my needs, and I've got plenty of time to use it, so it makes jobs like this fun. And it's nice with this little bucket on because you don't put too much strain on those axles that are holding the wheels. This little 8-inch bucket you can do without the outriggers on it. as long as you're careful, because if you put too much downforce or too much pull on them, you can actually bend the 2x2 piece of the tubing that hold the wheels out there. So, and that's why I tell everybody you can't leave it hooked to the tractor normally with the big bucket on this stuff, because you can actually bend the whole frame and twist those wheels so that they're, you know, kind of bowed in if you get wild with without the outriggers. So you can see I'm starting from in front of that shed. I'm coming across there and coming around the corner, and I'm just going down to along the fence here. This area is always just so wet and muddy in the springtime. It's like a clay. The soil under the top layer is some type of a clay. They call it hard pan, the farmers up here, and it doesn't let all the spring melt actually run through. It's not porous, so all that water gets stuck up in the top layer of soil, and you know, it turns it to mud, and it just stays mud for a real long time. So I'm hoping that this will fix that up in this area. It'll provide a little more drainage in front of that building, and there's another series of raised beds going across the front of the garden here, just outside of where I'm putting this drain in. So I'm going to eventually get rid of all the rest of the garden. I'm just going to turn that into grass. So I'm just going to have another 5 raised beds going across the top here, and they'll be just for kind of the butternuts and stuff. So this is, you know, just kind of running it in fast motion here. You can see it's it's like a little slow little dinosaur, but it does get the job done. And you know, learning to get a exact depth hole took me a little while, because you have to play with one lever and then the other lever, and you can actually see there that the cylinders on it actually could probably use a rebuild now. I beat them up pretty bad with all those stumps I took out and all that other, the backyard I dug out and stuff. So I'll have to pull them apart. They do give you new seals with it when you buy it, so someday that'll be a project. But just trying to keep the depth of this about 18 inches was the toughest part, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. And there you can get an idea of the downforce on those 2 axles sticking out there. That's why you really have to be careful with the bigger bucket, or if you hook into something like a root or something trying to pull it up. So you pretty much, you can see it's another windy day out. Every day for the past couple weeks has been windy. One day is 90 degrees, 95, then the next day it turns to be in the 60s again. So we're just constantly fronts moving over us and creating all this wind. So port plants have survived it. I've been giving them a little bit of extra water every night just to make sure that they don't dry out too bad, but they're doing really good. So like I said before, this isn't really a gardening video. It's more about, working around the garden and trying to solve some of the problems that I've been dealing with for years. So finally getting a chance to catch up and clean up everything. And it would have gone quicker too if I had somebody else to drive the tractor. That would have, really made it go fast. But I was lucky. The soil here was pretty dry and it didn't stick in the bucket or anything. Not too many rocks, nothing really major or anything, so that makes it go easy too. But going back to my trip to Lowe's to get that drain pipe, I could not believe how the lumber section of Lowe's was completely, there was no lumber left. There was a couple 2x4s for framing there, and that was about it. 2x4x8s. Everything else was completely wiped out. The lumber racks were all completely empty. You really wouldn't want to be doing any remodeling or building anything right now if all the stores are like that. I'm guessing that many of the mills and treating plants and stuff like that may have been closed due to the COVID-19 or something, but it was really strange just to go in there and not see, the shelf stacked with lumber. So here I'm getting down into the little bit stickier clay, and it's still a little bit moisture here and stuff. And this did turn into a problem for a couple feet through here, where you just can't get it out of the bucket by shaking it, wiggling it, no matter what you do. It won't come out, so I had to get a garden stake and actually just pry it out a couple times. You can see how well it packs in there. But it turned out this actually is the exact perfect size bucket for doing the trenches with, so I'm real happy I switched that all over when I put the actually the claw on, and I modified everything. So now I just swap things around quickly. But that does slow you down a lot once the bucket starts getting stuck full, and there's really not much you can do when you got the sticky soil like that. Pretty much I'm just playing with the two sticks, trying to keep it, get a level bottom on the trench here, and actually I did really good job in the end, it turned out. See, sometimes you can shake it out, but sometimes you can't. But a lot of people look at the videos and they laugh at this little machine, and they say that really is a waste. But in my mind, it's not. It's really paid for itself over a couple times with all the little jobs it's done and stuff like that. So I've been happy with it. Now, another thing that I ran into in Lowe's, they didn't have any of the filter fabric. Usually when I'm doing something like this, I'll dig the trench, and then I'll get like a 6-foot wide piece of filter fabric and put that down in the trench first before I put the pipe in and then put the stone on it. They didn't have any of that, so I figured what I'm going to do. I found a sock, I'll show you in a little while, to put over the pipe. Oh, there we are, plugged up again. So I did have that happen several times to me down here. But I found a sock that you pull over the pipe, and what I did is I actually put down a couple inches of gravel before I put the pipe in the hole. I'll show you that in a second. I figured any extra silt that might accumulate will just go down to and lay in that gravel in the bottom and not get caught in the sock or anything. So I would have rather had the filter fabric and wrap the whole thing, but I couldn't find it, so this is how I'm doing it this way, and I think it'll last. So I'm getting down near the end here now, and again, this is the actual speed that it runs at, so it's not real fast. And I'm going to say each bucket full is probably about the equivalent of 10 shovels full, so you're running at least 10 times as fast, and you're not working up a sweat either, you're having fun. It's been amazing though, the amount of sun that we've had the last couple of weeks. Nothing but sunshine. A couple storms. We had that one storm that gave us that 1/4 inch of rain, and all the rest of them just kind of went around us, and they went to the west of us and missed us. So it looks like the prediction now is for another week of nothing but sunny, dry weather. Actually, this weekend is supposed to go down to be about 60 degrees on Sunday, I think, and then next week it's supposed to go back up in the 80s and close to 90. So it had been crazy weather, and having this dry weather is really a good time to to do jobs like this too, so you're not dealing with the mud. So you can see I got a nice straight ditch going across there, nice and even, and pretty much same depth all the way. So I did, bucket did work good, and this is what this little trencher is made for. And it does a really good job at it. And this is what you see when you're sitting on the seat operating it. You really don't see much. You just kind of, look at that arm there that's in the way of everything. You got to look off to the side to actually see what you're digging and stuff. But just figured I'd show you this shot quick. Now for now, I didn't go all the way out into the middle of the yard like I'm gonna do, but I just went maybe about 10 feet past the edge of the garden gate there with the trench. I still got a little bit to finish later, but when I was all done digging, I just had to take this little hoe, and it just fit in there right on the side, just pass it through to smooth out where those bucket teeth stuck out, and I pretty much had a perfectly flat bottom hole, about 16 inches deep and 10 inches wide. And this is where I decided to put a couple inches, I'm throwing 3 to 4 inches of stone in the bottom of it. I figure be a good place for any silt that gets down in there to settle into over years. And hopefully the filter sock actually works good. So you can see I'm doing it all by hand. I decided that was the easiest for me, and put down 3 to 4 inches of stone in the trench first. And I found one thing: this 1-inch stone is a lot tougher to shovel and a lot heavier than the little pea gravel when you got it in the shovel there trying to wheelbarrow it. Then got that roll of pipe. Now this is a 4-inch by 100-foot roll. It's got little perforation slits cut in it all around it every couple of inches there, so the water can get into it and drain out, and it's supposed to keep the stone and dirt from getting in there. So it's just a matter of starting to get some of this unrolled here. And this is that filter sock that I was telling you about that I got. This is all they had at Lowe's, so I decided I might as well, better than nothing. Never used it before, but it comes on a applicator, and you just kind of wrapped around a piece of cardboard that you just kind of open up there like that, and it turns into a cardboard box that fits perfectly over the drain pipe, and it's going to make it real easy to put on. So all I did is just started the pipe through there, and then I took the end of it, pulled it off, and this is the closed end that's going up in front of that shed there, so I just decided to tie a knot in the end there to kind of seal it off so stuff can't get in the end. And then after I got done with the knot, I had a piece of that plastic twine that was holding the roll together. I decided to just tie a little bit of that around there for a little extra precaution. So it turns out that this really, it's almost like a nylon stocking material. It's a nice heavy material. It doesn't rip easy or anything. And once you pull it on the pipe, it just slides down the pipe on that box and comes off. And then what happens is after you get a couple feet done, get 20, 30 feet done, if you just kind of pull on it tight, you can see it's pretty big there. It's like oversized for the pipe coming off the box. But once you get it out a couple of feet like that, you just kind of pull it tight, stretch it back, and it actually shrinks right down around the pipe nice, and just perfect fit. It doesn't hang off, so it won't hang up on anything or drag on anything. So I got got that started, and I just kind of dragged it up the ditch there, and up around the corner there, and you know, that's it. That's my that's going to be hopefully my drain to fix all my moisture problems here, so I can put more raised beds right in that area. So everything came out nice and even, and this actually is tapered downhill. I went off the top rail of that fence. That's the top rail of the fence there is level, so I use that as a gauge to make sure there is a pitch to the actual trench itself. And I had a couple spots where I had to put some blocks on it to hold it down while I put the stone in. But I just went back and put enough stone to cover the pipe first by a couple of inches there, just to make sure everything was centered in the trench there, and perfectly down on the bottom of the trench. So, like I said before, normally I would have just wrapped this in a piece of a filter type cloth that's made for that, but you know, this is different. I'll try it, see how it works. I think it'll stand up longer than I'll be around, so you know, I think it'll be good. Takes a while with the wheelbarrow. Those stones, you know, after moving about 3 tons of them, that last ton gets kind of tough to push around a little bit. And my arms actually know that I spent the whole winter on the couch napping, I guess. And once I got everything covered over a little bit, I went back and just took some more stone and just brought everything up level with the ground there. Now the stuff I dug out, I'll be scraping that away tomorrow, and then I've got more pea gravel coming in I'm going to be putting on top of here, and then some more polyethylene, and I'm going to set this up for more raised beds in this area. And as you can see, every day I'm out there, it's nothing but a perfect sunny day. And one day you'll see me in shorts when it's 90 degrees out, and the next day I'll be out there in my coveralls because it's 60 out, 70 out. And there it is, everything buried. There's a piece I still have to bury out into the yard there. I still have a little bit of planning to do on that, how I'm going to tie a bunch of pieces together, because from the end of this piece, if you look up there, I'm going to go all the way up and around the front of the house with the next drain, so I'm going to need about a 250 foot piece, and then some kind of a junction box, and then I'm going to go back down over the hill from here to get everything drained out. So I thought I'd just kind of stop this here, and I'll be doing an update later on the veggies, and our dove is back for a second batch of eggs she's hatching. And I just thought I'd show you how I went about putting this drain in here, and just do a quick update on what I've been doing in the garden there. And you can see the plants are actually starting to grow really good, and probably next week I'll go through each and every plant and show you how they're doing, and you know, what's growing, and how everything's doing in there. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.